Good morning, good day, good evening, depending on when you are watching this. Hi, my loves. I hope you all are good and are having a good day. Righty. If you are new here, new to the page, my name is Maputi. I am not a gogo. I'm not a mkulu. Don't togoza me. Right? I need to come back and repeat this because many new people are coming, and when they come into my inbox, they say togoza gogo. We don't do that here. When you're here, you address me as Maputi. If you want to be respectful, you can say Aus Maputi. That's up to you. Don't have to call me Aus if you don't believe like I'm an Aussie. It's okay, right? And before you rush to the inbox, please try and go through as many of my videos as possible. Not saying watch all of them, but try and watch a few. Get yourself acquainted with me, especially the pinned top videos. Anyone, before you come for a consultation, make sure that the pinned top videos on TikTok, you've watched them all before you come for a consultation with me. How do you book a consultation? You can inbox me on TikTok directly and I will respond if you are clear. When you inbox me and just say hi, I'll delete that inbox and move on with my life. I only respond to inboxes from people who are straightforward. Hi, my name is this and this. This is what I need from you. I would like to book a consultation. Can I please have more information? Something like that. I will respond to that. But hi baby, hey, you are beautiful. I delete. And there's an email link on TikTok. There's also my email written on YouTube for those who are on YouTube, right? And for those who want to know the prices ahead of time, you are more than welcome to click the link on my bio. It will take you to my website. The prices are there. Still need to update it with 1 or 2 packages, but no difference. They're still there, right? And then when you are there, you can look at the prices. You cannot book on the website. You can request to book, and then I will respond to you via email. So some people have requested to book and I did respond via email, and then they said they didn't get the email. I will respond to you via email, and then we will take it from there. I do not want instant bookings because I need to go through the terms and conditions with everyone. There are people who have came in once they read the terms and conditions, decided they don't want to proceed. Now, the terms and conditions are there on the website as well, but I still need an acknowledgement and an acceptance of the terms and conditions before you pay. They are there on the website. For those of you who are interested about these terms and conditions, we don't hide anything. I don't hide anything. You can go on the website. You will find the terms and conditions. You can read them ahead of time. Get yourself acquainted with them and then decide, me, I don't want to proceed with this lady. And then you can then decide and say to yourself, me, I don't want to proceed with her. Right? It's all up to you. You can decide to do any of those things. No one is forcing anyone to book a consultation. No one is forcing anyone to come and work with me. It doesn't work like that. I don't force anyone. I don't force anything. Right? Okay. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, as our title says, the etymology of words, using words to liberate yourself. Right? Etymology means the origin of the words. The word etymology means the origin of a word. When you read words, you need to always know the original meaning of it. Majority of you are so lost in your search and study because you do not study the origin of the words. When you study the origin of the words and understand the true meaning of a word, it changes your whole perspective. Not only that, it allows you to not put emotions to words. When there are no emotions attached to words, then you can liberate yourself from the words, from the chains that some of the words are used to enslave you with. Let's start. Perfect example. I'm going to use the word kafir, right? I'm going to start. That's the first word I'm going to talk about, kafir, right? That's a word in South Africa. It was used, I don't know much about the N word used in America. I don't know much about other words that are used in other places because I don't have any historical connection to them. Even if a person were to call me an N-word, it makes no sense to me because it does not affect me. I don't have any emotions attached to it, right? So we look at the word, simple word, kafir. In South Africa, that's the word that was used by the apartheid people as referred to black people, right? It was used in a similar way to the N-word used in America. But once you understand the meaning of the word, you remove the emotions out of it. And let me explain how. Right. The word kafir is derived is derived from an Arabic word meaning kafir. Right? Kafir. And the Arabic word is the meaning of a non-believer. In Islamic, this word means someone who has, okay, let's put it like this. Someone who has closed their hearts to God or to the truth of Islam. A non-Muslim is referred to a kafir, right? A non-Muslim, those who deny the truth of Islam. That's what the word means. Now, through the slave trade, certain Muslims were brought to the Cape Coast as slaves or servants. And when they landed in South Africa, it was then first used, the word was then first used by the Muslims who had came into South Africa. And this word, it is still used in many Arabian countries and many Islamic countries to refer non-believers. It is still a normal word that is used to refer to a non-believer, the Gentiles, right? The Gentiles, people who don't believe in a particular religion that you believe in. The colonizers then adopted it to use it as a degrading word that refers to black people who did not believe in their God. Right? Now, they used it and put shame around the word to say that you don't believe in our God who's white. You don't believe in our Christian, because we had our own gods. We had our own names that we referred to our own gods by. We had our own cosmologies. We had our own history. We had every single thing. And because they wanted to derive a particular narrative that will shame us into believing, because they understood that for them, in order for them to enslave us, rule over us, they needed us to believe in their Christian God who is white. And once we believe in their Christian God who's white, then we put them on a superior level because they are the same color as this God. And then in that way, we will then worship them and respect them, right? And even today, the Afrikaner word kafir still means a person who does not believe in our God. Right? So in both Islam and in Afrikaner, it means a non-believer of a particular religion and a particular God. So this word has nothing to do with skin color, has nothing to do with tone of a skin color, has nothing to do with race, to be honest. But it has every single thing to do with religion and God, right? So now, this word has chained a lot of South Africans. People, when they hear it as South Africans, they go mad, right? I don't know if you know what's happening now in South Africa, but I saw something trending about someone, a celebrity who said the word. I don't know if you know what happened, but I'm not making this because of that. I wrote this lesson a few months back. Anywho, and I was told to publish it today. I don't know why. Anywho, now, a couple of years back, right, when I started getting so intrigued by the meaning of words, this was one of the words I studied. And once I studied it, I sat with myself and I asked myself, do I actually believe in this God of theirs? When I started studying and understanding all these religious things, I then started realizing that no, I actually don't believe in their God. Right? I don't believe in their God. I don't believe in their God. I don't, because I believe in Mother God, right? So in the patriarchal God, I don't believe in the patriarchal God. I believe in the union of the Mother and the Father God, right, who rule together, not a single father figure who rules alone. And in religions like Christianity and Islam are all based on a single father God, and they don't value and accept the Mother God, right? So with that, I was like, but they are true, they are right. I don't believe in their religion, both Islam and Christianity. I don't believe in their religion. Right? I love Hinduism because of the goddesses, but even they are still very patriarchal. Okay, fine. Now I had an experience, because now I removed the emotions and I accepted the word that I am a non-believer. This word has nothing to do with skin color, but it has every single thing to do with being a non-believer of their religion and of their God. And then I had an experience where somewhere a white woman, a South Afrikaner white woman, said something in a shop, and obviously me, I stand up for myself, and I was like, what you're doing is wrong, I'm not going to. So we had a little bit of an argument, and then she then mentioned, because she was losing the argument, because if there's one thing you want to do, you don't want to get into an argument with me. Because she was losing the argument and she was seeing how stupid she is, out of anger, she called me a kafir. Right? And the normal reaction of black people, they get angry, and now this, how could you call me that? It blows up. Right? But my reaction was like, yeah, I am. Thank you. I am. And that shocked her. It shocked even the people who were the spectators to say, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And you know why I am? I am because I don't believe in your slave God. I'm a non-believer of your God, because that's what the word means. I do not believe in a white God. I do not believe in a slave God who murdered black people. I am a non-believer of your religion and thinking that you are superior above me, thinking that you hold power over me. And because I don't believe in that, I am going to call you to order because I'm above you. Right? And that blew her away. Now, a narcissist didn't know what to say back. Right? So when you understand the etymology of word, people use certain words to enslave, to degrade, to dehumanize you, and to make you feel bad, because you attach so much emotions to them, right? But when you don't attach a particular emotion to a particular word, even when you are called by it, it makes no sense to you. And because it doesn't hurt you, the effect that it was supposed to have made on you, it doesn't make it, which then now bothers the person. So now the person went back defeated, thinking that I'm bothered, but I was not. I went back home very happy because I do not believe in a white God. I don't. I don't believe in a white God. I don't believe in a white religion. I don't. Right? And I accept it and I wear it proudly. Right? It has nothing to do with my hair. It has nothing to do with my skin color. I even accept it, because even if it was a skin color thing, I still don't want to be like them. Because I hold the DNAs of a god. I hold the skin colors of the gods. Right? They can use the word black to refer to us as dark shade, but there is no a black person. The word black, the color black, does not exist in human skin tone. Instead, people who are darker, the darkest shade of brown, the people who are the darkest in African countries, when they get darker, their shade becomes blue. It becomes darker to a point of being blue. Hence, that's why they will say they are blue-black. right? It becomes darker to a point of blue. You know why? It becomes darker to a point of blue because they are the origin. Their color is the original to the original. It's the closest to the original inhabitants who were melanin. Melanin does not turn black, does not turn to a black. Let me look for a black thing. Melanin does not turn the shade, but instead melanin turns to the shade when it's at its peak. When it ascends to its peak, it turns into a blue, a darker blue. What is this darker blue called? It's called royal blue. Huh? Because when a melanin person is of the shade, they are of a royal lineage. They are the origins of a royal lineage. And that's why all the gods from Hinduism, from Egyptians, from all the mythologies across the world, the original gods were always depicted as royal blue because they were the original gods. So the people who descended from the original gods, which are the original humans, were of a dark shade. And as we progressed as humanity, the melanin shade started to, what do they call it? Dissolve into different shades depending on races, depending on the mixing of the races, depending on this and this and this. Right? So even if a person wants to shame you and call you a black person, but there is no color that's black in the human shade. So if you get offended by it, but if you remove that and understand that you are not black, you are just melanin. When you call yourself a melanin person, you remove so much emotions that have been drilled to you for centuries. Because then you take back your power, because calling yourself a melanin is calling yourself an original people, an original person. Calling yourself an original person is also calling yourself a god. Can they say that about themselves? No. They can never. Right? So it is when you get to a point where you can remove the words, the emotions out of the words take on a different meaning. And that liberates you. And that gives you freedom. And that gives you power. You take back your power. Let's look at another word. We don't have a lot of time. Satan. Let's look at another word, Satan. Right? Now, there was never a Satan. Satan is a man-made word. Right? And Satan, the word Satan, was created to defame Hinduism. What's his name? In the 16th century, a Christian missionary by the name of Sir Francis Xavier arrived in India in the hopes of preaching Christianity and converting the peaceful Indians, right? When he got there, the Indians welcomed him with so much grace and so much honor and respect. And then he mistook that to think that they will be easily influenced because they are respectful, and not only that, they are welcoming and they are accepting. And then he started preaching this white God to them. And the Indians, because they were rooted in their culture and religion, did not accept his message. Not out of anger, disrespect, or anything, but because they understood the cultures and wisdoms of their forefathers. They understood deeper meanings of their mythologies, right? And this Christian missionary, Xavier, out of anger, he went back to Europe. When he got back to Europe, he started defaming the Hindus and calling them by different names. And then he said that the Indians and the Hindus worship dirty gods, filthy gods who are dangerous. He even said that the gods of the Hindus are monstrous, are demonic. And then he said, in his own words, he said that he even find pleasure in destroying the idols of the Hindus. Imagine, this is a person who said he was preaching the good news, but then he has so much hate within himself because people did not accept his religion. And that's a thing about Christians. When you do not accept what they believe in, it develops an anger within them. And that is not a religion of God. That when someone else does not accept your message, it makes you angry. And then he then twisted the tales of Lord Shiva and the snakes and the spears, the spear that Lord Shiva holds and the snake, and then he turned those images into demonic images, and then Shiva was turned into Satan, and then all of a sudden Christianity had a Satan. That's how the word Satan came into being. It was added. There was never, and Christianity, the whole of Christianity is riding on that word Satan. And if that word were to be removed, Christianity will collapse. The second word that Christianity will collapse if it were to be removed, Lucifer. Right? Lucifer. The word Lucifer only appears once in the Old Testament and once in the New Testament. And yet the whole Christianity depends upon that word for being true, for its survival. In Isaiah 14, that's where we first meet the word Lucifer. 14 verse 12. Oh, how Lucifer. Oh, how you have fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. Right? And how you are cut down to the ground, and how you laid the nation low. Right? And then I think Job talks about a fallen star, and people assume that was Lucifer because somewhere in the New Testament also they talked about Jesus. I think it was Jesus who then said he saw a star, an angel falling from heaven. Right? Then they said Lucifer was the son of God, the son of the morning, fallen, and the one who became a snake, blah, blah, blah. The whole mythology started. But the first time it appeared in Isaiah, when Isaiah was saying those words, Lucifer was not referring a devilish entity. Lucifer was referring the king of Babylon. That's who Isaiah was talking about. Because in all the Abrahamic faiths, there was never a devil or a Satan. In all the Old Testament, we don't even find the word devil or Satan. And never, even in all their old texts and what, they never believed in a Satan or a devil. Instead, they believe in Shaitan, which is in Hebrew. Shaitan in Hebrew meant an adversary. An adversary is an opposer, right? If people are having a debate, one team stands for one thing, the other team stands for another thing. They are opposing each other in the debate, and they are all opposing their own view. So that's what the word Shaitan meant. It just meant an adversary, someone who will oppose you on the journey. Not necessarily someone who will take you to a place called hell, and there was never a place called hell. In the original religions, there was never a place called hell. Satan, hell, Lucifer, Satan, devil were all added by Constantine and his bishops. Right? Satan only became a proper word until the New Testament was added. It was added in the New Testament, just like when Jesus was added in the New Testament. And even Satan only appears 4 times in the New Testament. So now, if there was never a Satan written originally, and if Lucifer never really meant who we thought it meant, instead Lucifer was talking about the king of Babylon, and even then Babylon was always referred to as the opposing nation, then that changes the whole meaning of the Bible then. Then that means there's no sin. Then that means there's no hell, because Satan is supposed to rule hell. But if there was never a Satan, then that means there's no hell. Right? For those of you who are new here, let's get into Jesus. Right? Many people believe I worship Jesus. I believe in Jesus. Jesus is my savior, Jesus. But there was never a Jesus in Palestine or Israel. There was never a man named Jesus in Palestine or Israel. Jesus is a Greek word. And it is a Greek word which was added to the Bible by Constantine and his bishops. I've already made a lesson about that. When I made a lesson on the Bible, right? When I made a lesson on the Bible, I already talked about that. Already talked about in the... Okay, now I'm going to have to go through my notes. I think I'm not too far. Let's see. Right? That in 14, isn't 4-1 something? I forget the number. 325 in the Council in Nicaea. In the Council in Nicaea in 325, that's when Jesus, Lucifer, Satan, and all the other words were added, right? And when it was added, Jesus is a Greek word from a Greek mythology, and the letter was decided upon. The words were decided upon because they made a perfect number of 888. And in the numerology of the Greeks, because 888 meant that it's the number of the sun god, and because they didn't want to come out clearly and say that they worship the god Ra, they then decided to come up with an equivalent name that matched the name of Ra. And the equivalent word that matched the name of Ra in numbers was 888, and that word was Jesus. And so that's why he's called the Son of God, because it's depicting the Son, the Son God. That's why even in all of his worships and whatever, the Sunday Passover, Sunday morning, it all has to do with the sunrises, and yes. Right? So now when you are reading these texts and you realize that these are all added, and if you were to actually read it and then ask yourself, are they talking about Ra? Because the story of a man born out of a virgin is already there in the Egyptian temples. And it was engraved in those temples many centuries before even Joshua, Isa was even born. And it was depicted there not as something that's about to happen, but as something that has already happened. And that was the story of a god in Egypt. That was the story of a god in Egypt. Now that takes me to another. Well, this is not necessarily a word, but that takes me to another thing that I wanted to talk about, right? Because if the story of a virgin woman who gave birth to a god is found in Egypt, and that story is depicting Ra, Amun-Ra. Amun-Ra, that's what it's depicting. That's the story of Amun-Ra. So now, when they decided in Nicaea, when they decided to change all these things, they added that story because they believed in the god Amun-Ra. That's who they worshipped. Hence, that's why in all their prayers, when they ended their prayers, they said Amen. The word Amen is derived from the Egyptian word Amun-Ra. Right? Now, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art thou in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, whatever. That prayer, who said that prayer in the Bible? It was the mythical Jesus. Do you know where that prayer comes from? To show that the story of this mythical creature Jesus was taken from Egypt. And the mythical creature Jesus is the one who taught the stories, the prayer, our Father who art in heaven, the Lord's Prayer. He's the one who taught it to his disciples and to the people. When I go through sleep paralysis, the only prayer that seems to work is our Father who art in heaven. And I never understood it. And I always ask my ancestors, why is it that this is the only prayer that works? Why can't I fight sleep paralysis with another prayer? Why is it that this is the only prayer that works? And yet I don't believe this is a mythical creature who said it. This thing was added until many years back when I was doing a learning in the history of the papyrus, and that came up because, I told you I wanted to be a genealogist, what is it called? Anthropologist. I wanted to study all these things, right? And I came across a text that said that the original prayer of the Lord's Prayer was found on a papyrus in ancient Egypt. It was written on a papyrus of Ani, A-N-I, the papyrus of Ani in ancient Egypt. It was a prayer written by Ani to Amun, the god Ra, Amun Ra. And it starts by Amun, 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 who art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as above, so below. Give us this day our daily bread. And it is word to word to word to word. Yes, some stuff are different from Amun, but that's where it came from. That's where they stole it from. And then they said the mythical creature, Jesus, who is actually Ra, said the prayer. And at the end, Ani finishes the prayer by saying Amun. And hence that's why the Lord's Prayer finishes by saying Amen. Because he finished it by saying Amun Ra. And that's why they finished the Lord's Prayer by saying Amen. Because they don't want to openly say they are praying to a sun god who comes from Egypt, because the Egypt people are melanated people. Even the word Egypt was created by them, right? They don't want to say that. They don't want, because now how will they justify? Why would they be enslaving the gods? Why would they do that? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Why would they then be enslaving the gods? So obviously they had to make up certain things. But if you notice, and this is why I told you in the Bible, the book of shadow, that when you read the Bible, don't read it like it's a true text. Understand that those are codes. There are many codes hidden in there. Israel. Someone on social media was doing etymology on the word Israel, right? Israel. And then they say is Isis. God is Isis. Ra. Ra appears Abraham. Ra appears in all of. Ra is just found everywhere. If you just go and study the etymology of many words in the Bible, you will see how much Ra is used. You will see how much. Like I meant Venus. They had to change the mythologies that they took from the gods and change it and make it their own. Because they understood the importance of words, that if you change the words, you change the meaning. Those who know the true meaning of words hold the power. Okay. Let's finish up, not another word. Amazing grace. Right? Amazing grace, how sweet thou art, whatever. A lot of Christians love this hymn, Amazing Grace, whatever. I'm not a singer. A lot of Christians love this hymn. And yet they don't even know. They think it was written by a Christian believer. Just like how a lot of Christians love the Bible and think it's the word of God. Oh, they believe in the, what is it called? They believe in the, oh yes, they believe in the King James Bible to be the original Bible. The closest, and yet it was written by a slave master. King James was a slave master. The same as Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace was written by John Newton. John Newton was a slave master, a rapist, a genocide person. He was a murderer. He had murdered so many people, right? Melanated people, he had murdered them. And he became filthy rich from slave trade and ownership. And when he had now retired from the business of slave, of murdering, of what, he decided to turn to Christianity and become a minister. The very same man who was murdering melanated people, raping the women, the children, a man who used to rape babies, became a minister. And then when he became a minister, because he was now there, he wrote this amazing poem in the hopes that God will wash away every single thing, to the point that he himself knew that the acts that he created were so big that he had to go wash them by being a minister. And yet they say that the most unpardonable sin that God would never forgive is murder. The one sin that God will never forgive is murder. And then to cover up his sin, he wrote this poem called Amazing Grace, and it's about his redemption and how God has forgiven him and how he's been saved and he's going to heaven. And yet when you sing it every single day, you are singing the words of a murderer. You are singing the words. Even God does not pardon murder. And ask yourself, how many people he murdered? So, I have white ancestries in my team. There's a few white ancestry in my team. Right? I've told you this before. And I remember asking them a question and saying that, okay, as a black person, you come from God, you go back to God, right? If you don't commit the unpardonable sin of murder, you will go back to God. Your melanin is God, right? Now, those who were manufactured on earth, not the original humans, right? Those who were manufactured on earth, who were the gene of the original humans were mixed with the gene of the Neanderthal, the chimpanzees, the baboons, were mixed, and then they created the Netherlands, right? The Netherlands, whatever, those people who were the ones who lived in caves. Those were the ones that came from Adam and Eve. Those were the ones that were manufactured. And through evolution, they became a race that we know today, right? So now I asked them, I was like, okay, so then how then do you then become gods, right? And the answer that I got is that godhood requires full melanin. Godhood requires melanin, right? But in order for the manufactured humans to be saved, there is certain things that they needed to do. One of them, I told you in the Hebrew, the original Hebrew video, one of them is that if you were a person to cement yourself, you needed to marry a woman who was melanin, or marry into melanin, right? And through the marrying and the mixing into melanin, that's how the race became. Hence, that's why you can have in South Africa, we've had situations where 2 Afrikaner people had a melanated child because of the genes, and they don't want to accept it. That's the one thing they don't even want to admit. And yet, without the melanin in their body, they would not even exist on earth. Fine. So now, one thing that they needed to do, this was known in the ancient times, is that you needed to marry into melanin. The mixing, that's where the mixing started to come in. Okay, you needed to marry into melanin. And then once you marry into melanin, you then needed to not commit the unpardonable sin. What is the unpardonable sin? The unpardonable sin is that of murder. Not only just murder of your own people, but you should never even murder a melanated person. You must never murder an original person. That's number 2. Number 3, you needed to finish perfectly your 7 soul cycles. And if you can finish perfectly your 7 soul cycles and then also fight for justice and humanity, and never never tint yourself or your soul in any of those things, you get to a point where you can ascend as a non-original human, right? And the tests that they had to face, I remember sitting and listening to that, and they telling me that the test that they had to, for them to even be as part of my ancestry and come to me and give me certain teaching, the tests that they had to face. When it was the time when people had slaves, they had to be against slavery. When it was a time for Christianity, they had to be against Christianity. And many of them are the ones that were killed at the stake. Many of them are the lands that were taken. Their lands that were taken, they are their own lands. They had to be the one that fought. And I remember one of them who was from the royal house, one of the royal houses, famous royal houses that we have now today, said to me that it was hard going against every single thing, especially being now you're reincarnated in a family that believes in these things, and having to go against it and make decisions that made the whole nation hate you and shun you, but knowing very well that you are purifying your soul. And then when the time comes, I don't know if they go to godhood or they go somewhere, but every single human being on earth will be saved. You go somewhere. You either become a god or you become an angel or become somewhere, but we all go somewhere. We all go somewhere, right? And when the time comes, they are right now enjoying their evolutions, enjoying their ascended mastership level. Right. And now, do you think John Newton is part of those people, will be part of those people? No, never. Because in all his reincarnations, he committed mass murders of the original gods. And they know this. They knew that because of the acts that they have created, the best solution for them is to enjoy earth. And how do they enjoy earth? They enjoy earth by making sure that you don't know who you are. Making sure that the original people lose their identity and who they are. And once the original people lose their identity and who they are, they can never go and become gods. So if I can't be a god, then we are not all going to be gods. That's their mentality. If I can't be a god, then we are not all going to be gods. So the only ones who can become gods, we're going to make sure that we suppress them or oppress them so that they never raise their heads and know who they truly are. Because if they know who they truly are, they are all going to leave us here on earth. And they will keep on reincarnating into this madness that they created. And we will be gone. And then we will then transcend into a new earth that we had originally came here to build. and they will be left in this 3D, 2D. It will even descend to 1D. When we detach, there will be 2 earths. We detach, there will be the 5D earth, which will also ascend, keep on progressing. It's not going to stop at 5D. No. Once we detach, it gets into a 5D. It also ascends until the 12th dimension. And this one will descend lower and lower and lower. Hence, that's why if you are left on this earth and not go with the people, it will be I don't even know if you'll ever make it to the 5D. I don't even know what you will need to do, because you will need to start from 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D. At least we are in 3D now. We can go to 4, then 5. We're not far off. And because the Freemasonries, all these people know that. They know the occult teaching better than the original people. They know exactly what is happening and what they need to do to keep you guys stuck, so that you do not go to the new earth. Because they know they are not going. They are not going to the new earth. I'm not saying white people are not going to the earth, to the new earth. There's many white people that are going to go to the new earth. There's many other racist people who are going to go. It's a multiracial place. Right? But only those who do not have blood on their hands, and especially those who have not murdered the gods. And that goes also for melanated people. If you are a melanated people and when you murdered, you took the life of another melanated person, you will never be a god. And especially taking the life of a melanated person out of anger, out of jealousy, and out of whatever it is that you thought. Yeah, all these things that people do, evilness, because that already shows your heart, the evilness that resides in your heart. Right? Now, I know some of you, especially some of you, the women, are going to now be stressed out about some of the abortions that you made. This does not apply, and I will explain it in one of the videos why it does not apply. It does not apply. We're talking about murdering a human, a whole conscious who came on earth and had a body. That is the murder that will never be forgiven. The one before then, before the body develops and what, that's another story for another day. It's a different law there that I will explain one day when I'm told to explain it. But now don't go getting stressed and thinking that I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about you. Yeah, I'm not talking about you. There is some stuff, but we're not talking about you. You can pay for that. You can make up for it, and then you can progress. Right? When you understand words, no one can enslave you. No one can abuse you mentally, emotionally, because you take your power back. And people allow people to use these words and these things and enslave them. The biggest slavery is still happening today, and it's mental slavery, and it's still done by Christianity and religious. All the Abrahamic religions are slave religions. Hence, that's why they even believed in slaves. And hence, the original religions, we don't even believe in religions. The original cultures were never slave cultures. Right? So, even, this applies even in a relationship, in an abusive relationship. I had one of my mentees struggling with something, and it's because of her partner, her ex-husband, and the words that they used to say. And I had to say to her, no, you are not part of that. That's not you. But it's the words that have been said to her over and over for many years, and then she started believing them. I am a narcissist worst nightmare. I'm a narcissist worst nightmare. I'm an abuser's worst nightmare, because even the one guy who tried and thought he could hit me, I remember that guy. I will never forget. Even if I meet that guy today, I hate him. And I don't hate people, because what? You hit me? right? So he tried to slap me because we're having an argument. And that's the thing, you can never argue with me because I'll always win. I have never lost an argument. Even when I know I'm wrong. I'm a Gemini. Even when I know I'm wrong, I will make you believe that I'm right. Right? But it's something that I've worked through over the years. And so he was losing the argument because he was now starting to see how stupid he is. And then he thought violence was the answer. And I have a very powerful reflex. And then I went down and I picked the stone. My mind is very fast. And for some reason, when I went down and I saw something, and I picked it and I threw it at him and I hit him with the biggest stone I could find. And I got other stones and I hit him, and now it was war. I was like, yeah, now come, let's see. One of us is going to kill another one today. You will kill me today. If you are stronger than me, you will kill me. And he has never had a woman challenge him. I mean, like, I was in high school. I was skinny, obviously. So people always assume I'm a nice person. So he never, ever in his entire imagination had a woman challenge him from home. And he was shocked to his core. And then he backed on and he left. And we never talked to each other ever again. Right? So, and I have never even had that experience ever in my entire life. And I've always told God, I will show him what you never do. And I'm a strategic person. If you overpower me physically, I will find a way. I'm a deer. I will make sure you get burnt by porridge in your sleep. You will be in hell for the rest of your life wondering what is she about to do to me. So that's why I'm saying I'm a narcissist, worst nightmare. Even people who come and use words and say you could, I'm like, no. I never allow people words to determine me. I remember a friend, not even a friend, someone who used to be a friend, once said to me when I was exiting, I had been doing certain projects for them, but I started to feel like now I work for them. And I don't want to feel like that. When I decided I don't want to work for anyone. And so even if I do a project for you, it must never feel like I'm your employee. Once I feel that, I exit. So I then said, in the next coming, this is my last month. I'm only going to do up until this month. And anyway, we're going on a break. Your company is closing. When it opens, I'm not opening up with you guys. I'm exiting, right? In order to preserve this friendship, in order to preserve ourselves. And then the person came back and said, I wanted to, it's like I'm sabotaging their business. I'm such an evil person. I'm sabotaging their business. And at first I was like, this one is crazy. I'm not going to entertain her. But no, man. After a few days and I'm thinking about that word, I was like, I went on Google. I was like, what is the meaning of sabotage? Because the way I understand it, I need to be sure of my stuff. What is the meaning of sabotage? And Google said it is when you have evil intentions against a particular person that you strategically think of ways to destroy them. And then I went back with a lengthy response, and I was like, for you to think I'm your friend, then you've never considered me as a friend. Because for you to think I'm sabotaging you, that means that I've always had evil intentions. So all this time I've been helping you, then it means that I've always had better, and I never want to see you succeed. And it means that I'm not happy for your success. I went in, and that meant that I've never been your friend. So then why then do you consider me a friend? Or am I a friend when it benefits you? So now it was a whole thing. Because of one word, it became a whole thing. And that's how it ended. I was like, I will never, ever, ever, ever have anyone say that about me, right? Now, if you say that I'm arrogant, yes, I know I'm arrogant. So even people calling me arrogant, people calling me all these things on TikTok, right? Saying I think I know better. I think I know better. That's how I am. I own up because I know what the meaning of the words mean. And so because of that, even if you do slander, you use a word and try to put me down, it does not affect me because I already know what that word means. And the emotions that you are expecting me to react to it to get out of it. It doesn't. And that's what you need to teach yourself. That's how you liberate yourself. And once you liberate yourself from the mental slaveries that are holding you, you start to work on your karma. And then once you start to work on your karma, it is now much easier for you to start to see the metrics. All right, maybe I might come back with another part 2 of this, and we might go into other words, right? But I don't know. We will see. We'll see when the divine beings decide. All right, my loves, I love you guys, and I hope you guys are having a beautiful day. And until next time, toodles.